Hi, my name's Denise. We're going to be shooting a skull series, which consists of the lateral, the PA axial Caldwell, the AP axial Towns, and the SNB. And we're going to start by setting up our console. So we show right here that we have the lateral, the Caldwell, the Town, and the SNB. And we're going to come over here and change the KB and get everything ready in the mass. And we're gonna now show our supplies. So we need our shield for the patient. We have our plate, which is digital, but we would do everything on a 10 by 12. And we have our wipes, because after every picture, we're gonna wipe it down. And we have our stool. We're gonna put right here for the patient to sit down. We have our tube detented to 40 inches SID, and now we are ready to go get our patient. Hi, my name's Denise.
Hello.
Hello, we're going to be shooting an x-ray of your skull. May I have your first and last name?
Katie Saldana,
And your date of birth?
9/24/90.
Any possibility of pregnancy? Okay, why are you here today?
Well, I was trying to do something at work, and I got hit in the head by this bottle because I was trying to reach over a shelf and I couldn't really reach.
Okay, so we're gonna take 4 pictures today. I do need you to take off earrings, bobby pins, any dentures, body jewelry. If your scrunchie has metal in it, I do need you to take that off, okay? And then I'm gonna give you have to put on a gown since we're just doing your head, and I'm gonna give you a shield to put on, and then we're gonna start the exam, okay?
Okay.
So now we're gonna start our images. So I'm gonna have you sit right over here. Have you face above me. And I'm gonna have you put this on. And I'm gonna put it backwards. Okay, so we have our lead on. We would use a 10 by 12 plate. And we're going to first start off with the lateral. I'm going to have you turn your head a little oblique. Looks good. Okay. And our central ray is 2 inches above the EAM. And we want our MSP parallel to the plane of the IR, and our interpupillary line perpendicular to the IR, and our IOML perpendicular to the front edge of the IR. So we're going to position her to get her IOML. Okay. So you can see that the central ray is 2 inches above the EAM. And then we're going to put our right marker there. Okay. So that looks good. And our SID is at 40 inches. Okay, and then we're going to use a technique of 80 at 12. And okay, so I'm going to have you hold your breath. And then beep. Okay, and we shot the image. So we're done with our lateral skull. So we're going to move on to our PA axial Caldwell. So I'm going to position you, and I'm going to have your forehead and nose touching. Okay. We're going to put our left marker right here. We're going to put a 15-degree angle. And then our central ray for that's going to exit the nasion at a 15-degree caudal angle, and the MSP and the OML is perpendicular to the technique at 80 at 20. So I'm gonna have you hold your breath. Beep. Okay, so we're done with that image. So now we're gonna move on to the AP Axial Towns method. I'm actually gonna have you turn around for me. Have you facing this. I'm gonna change the leg over around since we're gonna come forward now. Sit. I'm gonna flip forward the chair a little bit so your full head is on here. There we go. Sorry if the light is on you. So this is going to be a 30-degree angle. And it's going to be 2 inches above, 2.5 inches above the glabella. Right marker. Nip a little bit to get the hole in there. Okay. Perfect. Are you doing okay? Okay. Nothing's hurting or anything? Okay. Just want to make you feel as comfortable as possible. I'm going to collimate to a 10 by 12. We're still at 40 inches. So our central ray is 2.5 above the glabella with a 30-degree caudal angle. Our OML is perpendicular to the IR. See our OML is perpendicular to the IR. And our technique that we're going to use is 85 at 24. So I'm going to have you hold your breath. Beep. Okay, and eye exposed. So now we're going to move on to our last image, which is the Okay, now we're going to shoot our last image, which is the SMB Schuler method, and we are attentive to 40 inches, and we're going to use a 10 by 12 plate, and the central ray enters between the angles of the mandible, and it passes 3/4 inches anterior to the EAM, so you can see that right here, and the MSP is centered to the IR and it's parallel, and the IOML is parallel to the IR. And now we're going to shoot our image. Okay, so just don't breathe. Beep. Okay, and we use a ballpark method of 80 at 20. And now you can relax. Okay, and we're all done. Now that we are done shooting our 4 projections of the skull, we are ready to evaluate the images and make sure that they are of appropriate quality. This is our lateral projection of the skull, and the evaluation criteria is evidence of proper collimation, entire cranium without rotation or tilt demonstrated by superimposed orbital roofs and greater wings of the sphenoid, superimposed mastoid regions and EAM, superimposed TMJs, and sella turcica in profile, penetration of parietal region, and no overlap of the cervical spine by the mandible. This is our PA Axial Caldwell method, projection of the skull. The evaluation criteria is evidence of proper collimation, entire cranium without rotation or tilt demonstrated by equal distances from lateral borders of the skull to lateral borders of the orbits on both sides, symmetric petrous ridges, and the MSB cranium aligned with the axis of the collimated field. The PA Axial Caldwell demonstrates petrous pyramids lying in the lower third of the orbits. The entire cranial perimeter showing 3 distinct tables of the squamous bone, and the penetration of the frontal bone with appropriate brightness at lateral borders of the skull. This is our AP axial projection Townes method of the skull. The evaluation criteria is evidence of proper collimation, entire cranium without rotation or tilt demonstrated by equal distances from the lateral borders of the skull to the lateral margins of the foramen, the magnum on both sides, symmetric petrous pyramids, MSB of a cranium aligned with long axis of the collimated field, dorsum sella and posterior clinoid processes visible within the foramen magnum, and the penetration of the occipital bone with appropriate brightness at lateral borders of the skull. This is our SNV Schuler method projection of the skull. The evaluation criteria is evidence of proper collimation, entire cranium without rotation or tilt demonstrated by equal distances from the lateral borders of the skull to the mandibular condyles on both sides, symmetric petrossae. The IOML is parallel to the IR, demonstrated by mental protuberance superimposed over anterior frontal bone and the mandibular condyles anterior to the petrossae, and the brightness and contrast sufficient to demonstrate cranial bone anatomy.